This is going to be a somewhat different type of film study video that I'm going to do about Sam Laporta and his Week 6 matchup against Lavonte David. Sam Laporta is a rookie, incredibly talented rookie tight end for the Lions, who's had an impact across multiple games in the run game and the pass game so far as the Lions have got off to a 5-1 start. He dealt with an ankle injury last week, couple of days of either not practicing or limited practice participants. So this certainly was a factor. But man, you have to give credit to Lavonte David. The dude, he's 33 years old. He's been with the Bucs, I think, since 2012. He had 12 tackles against the Lions. That Bucs defense is legit. I don't have no idea what the record's going to be, but it's a challenge to me to put opinions out there in video form and then have another 12, 13 games left in the season where things could go drastically different and my words end up looking ridiculous. I think the Bucs defense, if healthy, is a pain to deal with for any offense. And it was for the Lions on Sunday. Of course, the Lions lost David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs already wasn't playing. They had an offensive lineman out. Only could generate 40 yards rushing on 22 carries as a team. Jared Goff able to throw for, I think, 340. Sam Laporta had his worst statistical day in terms of targets and catches. I still think he had two really nice catches against David, one of them on a third down in the fourth quarter, which I'll show you, and another one on a designed play in the first quarter where they tried to get David isolated on him, successfully did so, and he beat him quite badly to the boundary. 11 targets, only 4 catches for 36 yards. Like I said, the ankle injury or whatever it was, foot injury, probably had some impact, but the Lions struggled in terms of generating consistent run game, and I think that impacted Laporta a little bit. He's normally aligned to the boundary, and he's a guy that on play action concepts and third down where Goff is in the shotgun, he's there constantly open and available as an option. David did a great job, particularly after that first catch, of making things difficult for him. Laporta had at least one drop, or definitely one drop, let's put it that way. They were physical with him after he caught the football. It's a great matchup, if you ask me, for Laporta to learn and try to figure out little ways to gain a little bit more space against a super athletic inside linebacker like Lavonte David. The Ravens and Lions play this week. It'll be a similar matchup in some ways. Laporta will often be lined up to the boundary against Patrick Queen, the Ravens' really athletic inside linebacker who, prior to the last couple of years, had some issues in coverage, but he seems to have cleaned those things up. Let's get to some of the film, and you guys let me know what you think as we move through. We will start with Laporta's first catch for 19 yards down into the boundary. It's a trips closed A formation, so trips to the top side. And then you have the running back and the tight end down to the boundary. What they're doing, they being the Lions, is they're forcing the inside linebacker to cover someone. You have to account for the trips to the top side of the screen here. You have to deal with the trips in some manner. You have to allot at least 3 human beings, 3 players over there. Oftentimes you'll get 4 over 3 in like a nice little box like that. You don't see that here. It looks like man. Laporta is going to be running a route like this, and David is the guy inside leverage who's trying to get to him, just unable to recover from that leverage in terms of his alignment. And once the running back, Montgomery, who wasn't out yet, runs into the flats, it gives Laporta all this space to run onto. At that moment, you're like, man, this is 19 yards. That was easy on, like I said, I think the first possession to get the Lions towards midfield. We know that the Lions offense kind of wasted a couple of opportunities near midfield, or they bogged down a couple of times. Like I said, the Bucs defense is a badass group of football players. Laporta here, David there. You can see the leverage that he does not have to deal with an outbreaking route. So credit the Lions for having that schemed up with that formation in that situation on a 2nd and 4. Ben Johnson probably knew he was going to get man and went to Laporta, his super talented tight end, for 19 yards. All right, third possession, going to be a chip release into the flats. This really doesn't deal with Lavonte David in terms of being matched up against Laporta. It's a play action concept on a 2nd and 6 after he goes in motion. Chips all in the DN. Brock Wright comes over to help. Not much there. The Bucs tackle really well, pursue to the football. They're just a fast, physical group of guys on defense. 3rd and 1. Laporta spread out wide here, and Goff knows what he's got because that's Lavonte David that goes out there on him. So he knows it's man. You can't do this with every inside linebacker in the league, and certainly not every 33-year-old inside linebacker in the NFL. Super talented guy. ends up being in Laporta's hands. It's a ball that as a Lions fan and as someone who watches Lions games every week multiple times, I expected Laporta to catch it, but it's certainly not an easy catch. For people who call it a drop if you will. It's a great job by Lavonte David, and I'm into giving players credit where they deserve it. And in this case, David does, getting his hands up, knocking the play down on a 3rd and 1. Tells you what Jared Goff thinks of Sam Laporta, right? On a 3rd and 1, ball near midfield, late first quarter. To this point, I think this is the second time they've gotten bogged down near midfield and were forced to punt. Fast forward in a little bit, as far as gameplay goes, we're 6th possession. Laporta down here, notice where he is to the boundary. If you're a Lions fan and you pay attention or you've been watching my content at all, you know that I talk about that often. The tight end is typically going to be into the boundary. Now, I want to make a point about Laporta's versatility, even though he only had 4 catches on 11 targets, and there'll be people talk about he got shut down or whatever. He impacts the game just with his ability to line up in multiple places, basically to be an outside receiver because of his hands, his size, and his route running. Most of these iterations you're seeing, this is still a 6th possession. Actually, this is the very next play. It's going to be an incomplete pass to Laporta, and notice where he is, to the boundary. Again, it's a very consistent alignment. Haven't had time yet to explore one of my theories. This is a great job by David. Possibly a little bit of a hold down there on his hip, but that's just smart defending. And if you can get away with it, then it's great defense. If you get called for it, then it's not. I think you've got a pretty good angle here to see the right hand grabbing Laporta briefly and then clutching down on the right hip just to, almost like a hand check in basketball, prevent Laporta from getting out there. And you can see that prevention, that slowing down of Laporta put him about a half a yard slower towards the sideline than Jared Goff expected him. Still 6th possession. 3rd and 13, I believe. No, my apologies. This is a 1st and 10. And you've got Laporta into the boundary again. Keep that in mind. I'm going to mention that multiple times. When I get to the end of the video, I'll show you what I mean by versatility. Goff thinks he's going to keep running. Laporta sees the inside linebacker. In this case, I think it's White. Sees him settle outside the hash. I think Laporta's correct here in sitting this down. Goff's read is structured such that he's looking to this side of the field. He's got 2 potential receivers there. Not saying that they're open, but he has awareness, I would think, of that inside linebacker sitting there. He leads Laporta towards the sideline. I think either way you go, if Laporta keeps running, he's going to catch it and outrun White to the sideline. Or if Goff throws it to where Laporta sat down, you've got a big catch and the ability to turn to the inside. End zone angle, same play. Here's White. He's going to work out to this side. And Laporta from the other side. Like I said, it's a 1st and 10, missed opportunity for those 2 guys. I don't recognize the route combination, meaning it's not like I've seen that route combination a half a dozen times already this year, and I can tell you what I think he was supposed to do. The versatility that I talked about, this is a 3rd and 13, and it's going to be incomplete to Laporta over the middle. He's the backside X. A lot of people do this with their tight end, and a lot of people run underneath drags with their tight ends. This is one of the favorite concepts that Ben Johnson uses. Ball is certainly in his hands. He's being covered by a starting outside corner in the NFL. When I talk about the route concept, what I mean is you're getting an intermediate dig or in route by an outside receiver and someone, either a slot receiver from the same side running an out concept, or in this case, it's St. Brown running the underneath. So conceptually similar, whether that second receiver that I drew originates from the same side as Laporta or originates from the opposite side. Forgive me for that. Looks like I got to update my computer. Ball is in Laporta's hands again. Great challenge by, I think that's Davis, to force the incompletion on a 3rd and 13. I think they had to settle for a field goal there. 8th possession. I think this is a super physical play by the Bucs defense. Kind of illustrates the margin for error that you have, or the limited time and space, even to the boundary where you're away from the nickel defender. 3 guys converge on Laporta, 5-yard gain. I was worried about his ankle there. I think it was his ankle. If you're a Lions fan and you listen this long, first of all, thank you. But second of all, let me know, what if it was an ankle. I was worried here. It's like, okay, he's wrapped up low by David, and a 2nd and 3rd guy comes in. I was worried about the ankle getting twisted the wrong way, and David obviously not letting go. That was a 2nd and 9, short completion on the 8th possession. So I think 3rd quarter now. One of the run plays that they tried to get going, jumbo 13 personnel, so 2 tight ends here and a 6th offensive lineman. We would describe that as jumbo 13, not just 13 personnel, meaning 1 running back, 3 tight ends. Jumbo 13 means one of those 3 tight ends is a 6th offensive lineman. Laporta is trying to deal with an NFL outside linebacker, and he's struggling on this rep. And you can see he gets folded back up over the run play. Vita Vea is responsible for disrupting the whole damn thing, and multiple guys are there, including Lavonte David, 1 yard gain for the Lions run game that didn't get a whole heck of a lot going. To the field now, back to the boundary in trips. Ball's kind of like in the middle of the field, so I guess I'm incorrect there. And this is a drop. Same possession as the one that play that I just showed you. There's a drop on a Z under concept. Ends up not really hurting the Lions, but this was disappointing for me because I think Laporta is one of the most talented rookies there is, period, in the NFL, let alone being, a tight end. He impacts the game on deep routes, intermediate, really is a handful to the boundary. It didn't end up mattering because the Lions were able to get a touchdown on the very next play to Jamison Williams. 10th possession now. And I think we've got a 3rd and 5. This is a very good rep for Laporta. It's okay if you've got a negative opinion of how he played on Sunday based upon the last 6 or 8 plays, but I think it illustrates how tough-minded he is and how tough-minded the Lions are coached to be. This is him against Lavonte David, who's won 3 or 4, reps in a row at this point in terms of covering him. 3rd and 5, 10th possession. I think it's 20-6 already at this point. And he's able to get a conversion that, theoretically could have taken you down to get more points. Ended up not getting points on that drive, I think, having to settle for a punt. I love the little, some people call it push off, hedge off, whatever. It's a physical game. Just like Lavonte David, I don't disparage him for the slight hold on the out route to the boundary that ended up slowing up Laporta by half a yard and causing the pass to be incomplete. I don't disparage Laporta for a slight push off here. It's football. I played a lot of basketball in my life and been held a lot and done my share of holding. That's just the way it is. I think it's a great throw by Goff as well, giving Laporta time to settle into that space that's opened up because the Bucs are playing man. White, the other inside linebacker, is covering the running back Reynolds. So what that does is open up all this space for Laporta to run onto. Goff came back to him as I think the 2nd or maybe the 3rd read. Great ball security. Ends up being a 12-yard gain. Laporta is excited as well. He should be. All right, so my last point, this is going to be earlier on the same drive, a couple of plays. Check out where he's lined up to the boundary. It's an under-center pass. It's St. Brown into the boundary. He's doing a nice job of blocking the corner here, just basically trying to reach him and give St. Brown the sideline. Ends up being a 6 or a 7-yard gain. What Laporta also offers you offensively, and he's not the only tight end in the league who offers this, is the ability to line up to the field as a receiver, and then now you can put St. Brown into the boundary. If the nickel defender goes to the field, you've got a real issue defensively with an inside linebacker trying to cover St. Brown, who's oftentimes lined up in the slot. In this case, the Bucs put the nickel defender to the boundary where St. Brown was. He still beats him. Point is, Ben Johnson can manipulate defenses, typically against twin receivers to the field, 2 receivers to the field. Your nickel defender is going to be right where this guy's feet are. And as you can see, that is not the nickel defender. That is Lavonte David. So they're forcing the defense to invert or reverse their look, put the nickel to the boundary, the will linebacker to the field, in this case David, regardless of whether he is actually the will or the Mike in the Bucs defense. He's opposite the nickel, so I'm calling him the will. You can manipulate the defense and force them to line up a certain way based upon where you put Laporta, and that allows St. Brown the ability to work into the boundary. You guys let me know what you think of the video, what you think of Laporta's play against Lavonte David. Certainly a lot of reps that he did not win. I think the ankle injury could have had an impact. I don't know how much. That's not my job, but it doesn't matter. The performance on the field is what matters, and I think both of those guys gave each other great work, and I think Lavonte David probably made Sam Laporta better on Sunday by showing him some slight things that he'll have to deal with the next time he's running an out route to the boundary or the next time he's trying to beat him on a 3rd and 5 over the middle of the field. Appreciate you guys' time. You let me know what your thoughts are of Laporta after the game. I don't think my opinion of him doesn't change at all. And I intentionally wait till the end of the video to kind of withhold final evaluation. My opinion doesn't change of him at all. Super talented guy. I expect him to have very few days like that, 4 of 11 in terms of targets and catches. Most games, I think he's going to be 6 of 8 or 7 of 9 or something like that, depending on St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, how many targets they get, and how well the run game is working. If you're a Bucs fan and you watch this long, first of all, I appreciate it. So thank you very much. Second of all, you guys got a badass defense, and Lavonte David was a big part of it. I think that showed on Sunday. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Lions fans or Bucs fans or football fans in general would enjoy this film study video, look at the matchup between Laporta and Lavonte David in Week 6, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it on social media to help this content get more reach.